Hey everyone, this is Tim McCann, your Renaissance man. I am back with this follow-up to how to install and make a blowout patch. Now I'm going to show you actually how to finish a blowout patch. So a couple of things that you'll need: a pan, some water. I'm using quick set spackle today. It's a 20-minute quick set. So basically what that means in theory is that after you mix this spackle up, you should be able to work with it within 20 minutes. Word of caution, when you're mixing with this stuff, you have to move pretty quickly. Otherwise, the stuff will start to set up in your pan and it will become unworkable. You'll have to throw it away and start all over again. So with that, you'll also need, this is a 6-inch spackle blade. This is a putty knife. This is a angled putty knife with a 4-inch blade. Most likely will not be using this today. Possibly, I use it a lot, but probably won't be using that one today. And this also is a 10-inch spackle blade. You'll notice that they are free of spackle and debris on the blades anyway. The handles, not so much. Reason being, I'm a professional. I do a lot of this kind of stuff throughout my daily actions. So they get used quite a bit. So let's just jump right into this. You'll have to bear with me. My camera person's not here with me today. So I'm doing this by myself. Okay, which is pretty common, pretty typical for me. So let me just see if I can get this set up right here. Okay, so here's my pan, right? I have all this set up on a tile floor. I want to try and get as neat and clean as possible. That way there's not a lot of cleanup for later. And it just makes you look like, you know, you're more professional and you know what you're doing. So first thing I do is I take my putty knife. You could get like a cup or something. You could even use your hand if you'd like. I don't really like to do that just because the spackle has a tendency of drying your hands out, and you really don't want that because then it'll start to crack and things. So I just kind of scoop a little bit in there. That should be a decent amount. Now here's the tricky part. Measuring out the water is not always easy. First thing you want to do is go with a little bit less than what you think you need. I mean, you could see I really don't have a lot in there. And then you just kind of, I just start to move it around. Just move the powder, just move the mix around into the water a little bit, and just kind of move it back and forth, right? So you want this to be a little creamy, kind of like a peanut butter in a way. So you can see I didn't really put that much water in, and look, that stuff is super creamy. It's easy to work with, not really what we want, okay? So dry this blade off a little bit here. This stuff, you don't really worry about. I don't really worry about it too much, getting it on my clothes or like on this towel or anything. It's water soluble for the most part, so you're good there. It's not like it's gonna leave a stain or anything. And if worse comes worse, you can just sand it out, okay? So that's much better, a lot easier to work with. That's the consistency that you're looking for. You guys see that? That's what you want right there. It might not have made enough. All right, but you see the consistency of what that looks like. It's like peanut butter. Okay, so with that, I'll try and adjust this. Now, like I said, you gotta try and work as quickly as possible with this stuff. Okay, so the very first thing I want to do is, you can see that that paper is not tight against the wall. So I want to get back here. So I go over, I go under and I go over, right? Just want to get some spackle underneath there, clean it up a little bit, underneath there, clean it up a little bit, and I'll just work my way around all 4 sides. Okay, pretty simple. There you go. That's basically your first layer, your first coat. Now, with that, what I can do is I can spread here, spread there. Now here's the tricky part. When you start working with this blade, it looks like I'm completely flat against the wall. But I use these 2 fingers and I'll put pressure against different parts of the blade. So when I'm actually coming across this seam, You might not be able to see it, probably not, but I actually put a little bit more pressure this way so that when I'm coming across this seam here, I kind of like want to build that seam up a little bit so that when I go back and I sand it again or I put my second coat on, I'm going to make that hump disappear, okay? And then I can bring it down. I might use my 10-inch blade for that on my next coat and then bring the seam all the way down to here. That way when I go back and sand everything, that will actually feather everything together nice and smooth, so you're not going to see a lot of this right here. So it'll make the ridges go away so that everything is nice and smooth and nice and flat. Okay, so again, just coming across here to get a little bit more spackle on my blade here. I just want to come across. I'll cover the whole thing. Cover the whole thing, right? Now see how I did that, and I'm just gonna smooth that back out right over here. Now you can see I already have this ridge. I have a ridge right there. So I just put a little bit of pressure down here with my middle finger, and then I can just take that ridge right away. But you still can't see where the paper's at, right? So already I've packed out that enough that you can't see it, and it makes it look like it's smooth with the wall. Okay? Now just coming back here across one more time. Don't try and get this first coat perfect. Don't fall victim to that. Most people, they want to just keep playing with it and playing with it and playing with it, and then it never gets to where you want it to be, because you're not going to, because it's the first layer. It's going to be a little bit rough. And to be quite honest with you, you really don't know what you have until it dries, and then you got to come back and check it out, because this stuff is known to shrink depending on how moist it is in the room. I mean, there's a lot of stuff to take into consideration when you're working with this stuff, because it's water, you know. I mean, water is the main source of this stuff, so when you put it on, it's going to look a little bit different than when it dries. Okay, so that's pretty good first coat. All right, and we're just going to let it go with that. I mean, for all intents and purposes, your hole is closed up now, and I see a little couple other nicks and dings here. So while I have my spackle out, I may as well just hit those real quick too. So I'm here, I can just go like that. So I come down, and then I go to the side to clean up any excess that I have. See if I have any more, I'll show you real quick. So down and down, come across. You don't have to go real crazy when you're doing that, like with pressure. You don't have to, like, some people want to try and bend that blade as much as they can. You really don't have to do that. You just want to make sure that your hole is filled, and then any excess that you have, you come across the opposite direction or another direction. So you go across and down, or you go down and then across. Whichever, it doesn't really matter. You want to get in the habit, though, of using these two fingers on your blade, because that will control direction and pressure. And then that way you're not just having your hand on the blade here. You can actually use two fingers rather than just one. That'll save some forearm for later. All right, guys, so that was your quick crash course on how to finish your blowout patch, and how to do just very basic general spackling and mudding. And they call this actual drywall finishing, is the proper term for what we're doing right here, is drywall finishing. So there's a whole separate trade related to that. Again, my name is Tim McCann. I am your Renaissance man, coming to you with another edition on how to finish your drywall blowout patches and how to make walls look more presentable and up to date in your home. You guys have a great day. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.